Hello, gasaholics. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got Gas, the Great American Auto Scene since 1990, your source for automotive information, some theory, some tidbits, some humor, but most of all, we talk about cars a lot. Today, I want to talk about a car that was very rare, and I mean rare in the sense of there weren't that many produced, and there's some controversy about that. Some say there was less than 2,000. Others say the registry for this particular vehicle says about 2,300 cars. What was this car? Well, it was the American Motors Rambler Rebel. Yeah, Rebel. American Motors. You didn't know about that car? Well, it was a cool car. Red, white, and blue were most of them, and they were powered by 343 the first year, but the last year, 390 cubic inches, 340 horsepower, and an amazing amount of torque. These were a very limited production vehicle, and I'm not quite sure why Rambler didn't push out more. Part of the problem was sales, and Rambler's never been known for high sales. Good morning, Ellen. How are you? And Dale Huddleston. But at that same time, and although it was kind of late for the performance era, American Motors was getting in with the Javelin, the AMX, and then the Rebel. Now, they were performance-oriented vehicles. The AMX and the Javelin entered into the pony car field. The Rebel name came back, well, it was out first in 1957, and surprisingly, with its small V8 engine, it was the second fastest production car of the era, and the only other car that was quicker was the Corvette back in 1957. And that's kind of strange, considering AMC, basically known for its stodgy, grocery getter, family-oriented, just get point A, point B type cars. But in 1967, the Rebel, it had a 280 horsepower, 343 cubic inch engine. But wait, there's more. And then the 235 horsepower, 390. In 68, Kenosha engineers got with the performance program. Now, that's a little late, but they got into it. Hi, Bob. How are you this morning? So they came out with the Rambler Rebel that had a 390 with lots of horsepower. Well, 340. For the time, you got to think about that. The GTO was around 335. The Roadrunner was also in that range with a 383 cubic inch engine. The GTO had a 389. So they were right there in the mid-sized cars. Now, to make this car more stout, they used the coil springs in the rear from the station wagon. They put sway bars front and rear, and the rear one was pretty stout. It was big and made this car handle quite well for as large as it was, but it wasn't a very heavy car. Again, Rambler's unibody had been for a long time. They got rid of the body-on-frame chassis designs many, many years before this. Well, the Rambler Rebel was red, white, and blue. It stood out in the crowd, but they didn't sell that many of them for some reason. And who knows what the real reason was. I'm too old to remember and too young at the time to know. But at the time, you could get the 4-speed, and it was with a Hurst shifter. And then if you didn't want to shift for yourself, you could get an automatic, and it was okay. But the big news the machine got for 1970, that was the last year of this vehicle, 390, 340 horse, 430 foot-pounds of torque. Now, that's a whole lot of torque for a 390 cubic inch engine, but they did it. It had 10-to-1 compression, forged connecting rods, and crank. It added a high-flow dual-plane intake, dogleg exhaust ports, larger 2¼ inch outlet manifolds, and it had a Y in the identification number to confirm it was that 340 horsepower 390, not anything more or less. All the parts came out of the parts bin. There was no special parts other than that rear sway bar. Everything else came from other vehicles. They had 15.7 Kelsey Hayes stamped steel wheels, a heavy-duty cooling package, and the biggest problem, and here's why it may not have sold, a GTO base price was $32.67. The Rebel, $34.75. Now, you say $200, that's not all that much. Back in those days, that was a considerable amount. If you look at the Chrysler Hemis, the Hemi option in a Roadrunner was in the neighborhood of $500. They didn't sell very many of those either. So think about that for a second. Now, there's a disparity in the numbers, like I said. The National Drivers and Racers Association claims that there are only 1,900 of these Rebels produced. But only the first 300 were red, white, and blue. That's the only one that I remember. But the Rebel Machine Registry, those are the enthusiasts who get together, say they've got 2,326 machines. Difference of 400 units. The machine was a one-year only deal, though. For 1971, AMC turned its attention to the Hornet, and it was an SC360. The machine goes down in history as one of the, most iconic AMCs produced. It was replaced by what was called the Matador, and it's got a 401 with 330 horsepower. So bigger engine, but less horsepower. You could still get the 4-speed, but it wasn't quite the same. It was a little bit more mundane at that point. But I'll tell you what, I've got a friend that had one in maroon with beige interior. That thing was cool. 4-speed, 401, yeah. And here in Los Angeles, LAPD had Matador 4-doors with 401s. And they were stout machines. But it was a very short-lived vehicle. Transmission, again, options were the C10 4-speed with a Hurst shifter or a Borg-Warner automatic. Nothing spectacular back then. But you know what? That's one of the more iconic muscle cars of the era, but it was so short-lived, many people don't even know it existed. Now, there was the American, the little SC, the Scrambler, as they called it. That was cool, too. 390, smaller body, lighter weight, quicker. The AMXs, they were darn quick. As a matter of fact, Shirley Cheyenne had switched from Mopar to AMC to run the AMXs in the stock eliminator categories back then. Well, AMC not necessarily known for performance cars, but I'll tell you what, you get a hold of one of these, you'll be happy. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got gas. The Great American Auto Scene. Since 1990, I've been bugging you on the radio and on TV. I hope you enjoy it. Hey, please like and share, and go to our Facebook pages for both GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene, and Talking About Cars. Now, Talking About Cars is now on PowerTube TV. Check us out. We have a new episode dropping every Wednesday, and more coming. As a matter of fact, we're going to be introducing, intimidating. We'll be talking with a whole bunch of special guests in the next few weeks. I hope you join us. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got gas. That makes you a gasaholic. You have a great day. I'm headed out to the drags. As you can see, I got my Irwindale shirt on. I'm leaving for the track. We're racing tonight out at Irwindale Drag Strip. Every Thursday night under the lights, it's Thursday Night Thunder at Irwindale Drag Strip. Hope to see you there. And I hope you like and share GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene.